Hey folks, Rob here bringing another unbagging. So this time it's going to be Journal 12. Just a quick little view of what's inside ASL Journal 12. You can see it's not going to be very long. It's going to be quite a thin magazine. Probably going to have a couple scenarios, maybe see something else. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Right, so let's see what we got here. Handful of scenarios. A little bit of errata that came out for journal or scenario J192. Count 4, add double. Okay, well, good to know. Get to those in a second. All right, so it's a thin magazine. You can see here, not going to be very thick. Probably around 30 to 60 pages kind of area. Printed in 2017. And here's the list of stuff that they're going to be talking about. And of course, this debuts around the same time as Red Factories, which, as we know, was a combination of Red Barricades and Red October hassles. Right, first up, we have a dose of antifreeze, defending against vehicle bypass movement freeze tactics. Now, this is a tactic whereby you take your armored fighting vehicle, has to be an AFV, and you drive it into a hex location where there's enemy infantry, and that forces them to not be able to fire outside of that hex. Gives you freedom of movement for your other infantry, so you can run around in the open as much as you want and avoid fire. Now, obviously, you have to be careful what you charge. You don't want to be charging Pioneers with demo charges, for example, or maybe AT guns if you have weak armor, that kind of thing, because at the end of the day, you may lose your vehicle, and you have to be willing to lose your vehicle if you want to practice VBM freeze. But situation may dictate that it's time to do it, especially if it's an end game push, and you want to get your other troops into position. So this is an article on how to avoid that and defend against it. And they even throw in a small little scenario here. Not sure why it's like this and not in a scenario card. I wish they would reprint Best on Budapest. But they gotta wait for numbers before they can do that again. It's unfortunate with printing these days. You need to have the number of units available to make it warrant printing. Otherwise, it's just not going to be cost effective to do, and nobody wants to keep stock sitting on their shelves of material that they're never going to be able to sell. So, and this is a after action report of a scenario. Then we go to advanced nuggets. Paul Sidhu, he was at Caslo, so this nice article from him on different aspects of different rules that people sometimes don't get right. I'm sure I make many mistakes in my games that I don't always get right. This one I did know. When you have a vehicle that's burning, you have to pay for the wreck and an extra MP for the smoke when entering a hex with a wreck blaze. And if you're on a road, if the wreck is on a road as well, you also have to pay an extra MP as well. If you didn't know that, if you have a wreck on a road, you pay for the ground, the road movement rate. You pay for the wreck, and you have to pay an extra point as well for because the guy's basically blocking the road. You're trying to navigate around him. And then you throw in smoke on top of that, you can add a fourth movement point. Ghost Killers: The History of the Marines of the Republic of Korea. So for you Korea war players, interesting article. This is I want to get the Forgotten War module. Just hasn't materialized yet. They already have a second printing of Korea, and I don't even have the first. Funny. Another article from Paul Sidhu, ASL and the Principles of War. Using military training tools. These mnemonics that they use are always very handy to know. They apply in war games as well. You'd be surprised. I used a couple of them for describing the terrain when I was making those Okoka terrain analyses. It's surprising how much of that carries over into wargaming. So a good way to use tactics to avoid certain situations, especially things like how to advance under contact and those kinds of things. You start to think about maneuvering your units in those kinds of fashions, and it works. More errata. It's always surprises me that in a game that's 40 years old that they're still finding errata. I'm sure some of this is old news, but as long as we are maintaining older editions of rulebooks, they're always going to have to keep reprinting older editions of errata as well. Scenario analysis. Had it in the noose. I never played Americans versus Germans. I do like these in-depth scenario analyses. It was the kind of thing I was trying to do on my channel to varying degrees of success. I didn't have a lot of experience though when I was doing those. Obviously, it comes with time when you just start diving in deep to the orders of battle, how that applies to the terrain of the map. It's I think it would be a very handy tool to do that to all scenarios. Obviously, it's unachievable because there's so many of them, but maybe some of the more popular ones, this kind of treatment would go very well, especially if you're a new player and you don't know how to use the tools in the toolbox. Something like this might go a long way, especially in a video format. Flames and Hatton. So this is a rule set I'm currently developing for Solitaire, Chaz Argen's game, and looks to be fun. January 45 action in a nice snowy historical map. Um, the small village of Hatton. It's We just started play testing this, so I think there's one person right now doing it for me. Hopefully, you'll get a couple more contenders, and it seems to be okay. The rules that we have right now, he's just playing a small mission up in the northeast part of the map. But we do want to try the campaign still, and there's several other missions that have to be tested as well. And that was it. Nice and short. All right, Belgian Blitzkrieg. We got some Belgium versus Germans, early war, May 1940. Very small units. We have 13 Germans and 9 Belgians. Guns and armor and motorcycles for the Belgians. Infantry and trucks for the Germans. Small. Um, they have end on the third turn, but they have 7 turns. Not sure what that's about. Oh, so VC conditions. Germans win at the end of game turn 3 by controlling buildings Z6 or at game end by controlling 3 multi-hex buildings. So you can win early at game end 3, which is crazy. The Belgians have to be doing something wrong for the Germans to win at 3. Real barn burner. And Dan to meet you. Nice. Low visibility for the first 2 turns. 5.5 turns. Variable mix of counters for the right side. And the KR map, I'm not sure what that is. The Krita? No. Takes place in Syria, but I'm not sure what the KR map stands for. Either way, I don't have it, so it'd definitely be a vassal game if we do play it. Haunted Castle, weird configuration of map boards. General 185. Again, small unit actions. This might be a good infantry starter kit ASL crossover for you guys that want to do that kind of thing, because we're looking at what, 5, 10, 11 squads for the Russians, and the Germans don't have much more. They have 11 as well, with 1 artillery piece. So very small unit actions. It uses 2 half boards butted together. SSRs are not ridiculous, and it is early war, June 41, so it's probably be a good learning exercise to do. So second line NKVD troops, but they don't use the Valor of the Guards ones where they have the hammer sickle. Um, oh, I take it back. They do. No, those are conscripts. Yeah, no, the 628 here. These should be the hammer and sickle NKVD, but they don't use those. This is regular 628s. I imagine you can just swap them out if you wanted to. Castle on the Horizon, 4 boards, a lot of overlays. So these are all desert boards. Deadly Combat, we are in Crimea, 1941. Germans on the defense, Russians coming on board, 6 turns. Interesting SSR for number Journal 187. In each Russian movement phase, infantry must wait until all Russian AFE move first. That is kind of weird, bizarre. So the tanks have to move first, and then the Russian infantry can move. Interesting. Grab and go, Journal 188. A dozen Germans versus 21 Russian 458s. Seems rather lopsided. And they have a couple of half tracks on the German side to help defend. Russians are all infantry. And the half tracks for the Germans come on turn 5. Kind of late to the party, so yeah, I wonder how open that is. I think board 17 is quite wide open. And he uses board P, one of the starter kit boards, I believe. Buckley's Block. Now, this one I played at Castle. This is an interesting one. Really, I wouldn't say really difficult, but it's hard for the Japanese because, first of all, there's a river on the right side from the American perspective. And the rest of this terrain is kunai, bamboo, swamp, and light jungle. So very slow going for the Japanese. You have to get your bonsais in rather early just to get that extra move to get through there. You got to keep moving forward and sweat the Americans, who have a couple of. You can hip the American half track. You also have a hip 37 double long just to keep the whack the Japanese when the least expected. So it's very, I think this one is very pro-American, very difficult for the Japanese to do it unless you can get off those bonsais really early. But this was a fun scenario to play. I found. I mean, I played Americans. I managed to eke out a win, but I found it very difficult for the Japanese to make headway, and mud is an effect. So you're paying an extra half move for every non-road hex that you're traveling, and there's no road. So basically, every hex is an extra half move. Trial run. We're back to regular mix of counters. We have armor, we have guns, defensive fortifications, about a dozen or so troops on the Canadian side, and 6 squads on the German side. Rebels without a pause. How punny. Germans and Slovaks fighting in September 44. You got 10 Germans, you have 10 Slovaks with some partisans coming on to help. And you have tanks on both sides, guns on the German side. Rafts rules. So here we have variable purchase points. It gives a little bit more replayability. Um, Unit counts are very small, sub 10 squads. Uses 2 starter kit style boards. Um, yeah, all right. The T patchers. And Gavin Take. Good old Gavin Take. Yeah, so this one we've played before. This is, I guess, a reprint. Yeah, it came out as T1, so this is a redo. Um, the trick to this one, we found out, Dave and I, we played this a couple times, is as an American, I mean, it's not going to work all the time, but you've got 10 747s, and you've got a 10-2 and a 10-3. You blaze right down the center with copious amounts of Willie Pete hand grenades and smoke. Your squads are more than likely going to survive with the weak 447 firepower coming at you. If you can get adjacent to him, you're firing 8 firepower assault fire with a 10-3, 10-2, bye-bye wood and stone protective cover, and you're going to be breaking the German who's going to be forced to retreat. If the Americans just bulldoze right through the center, there's really nothing that the Germans can do. Obviously, you're not going to stack your guys. You send individual squads. One of them is going to live because the German has to cover all that frontage, and you can just bulldoze your way through. We found that if you try and loop around the sides of the map and sneak around the back, less effective. It gives the German a chance to retreat in order and come back. So if you play this one, and I'd like to know how this works for you guys, if you try it as American, just come bulldozing right through the center and just eradicate the German. Again, 10-3, there's a stone gone. 10-2, there's all the wood buildings gone. Maybe a +1 if you're in stone as a German. So Gavin Take was, I don't think we broke the scenario, but it's very pro-American if you're very aggressive as the American player. First turn, you're getting into position. Turn 2, you're assaulting into the village. And that is Journal 12. Like we said, it's quite a thin magazine. What about a dozen or so, 13 or so, 14 scenarios. Very small magazine. Got it at Caslow, again, 29, which you saw with the other ones. And I still have 13 and 14 to unbag as well. Those will be coming up shortly. All right, we did play one of the scenarios. I did, anyways, Buckley's charge. Very lopsided one for the Japanese to try to slog through all that mud, through all that terrain, into prepared German or American positions with 2 hip guns and all those Marines just sitting there waiting. Fun scenario if you're not the Japanese, but a couple good articles in here. Paul Sidhu was at the tournament, and he wrote up a couple nice ones for this as well. So journals, I don't think they disappoint. They always have good tidbits in here. So if you can get your hands on this, or hopefully MFP gets onto this and they release an e-bundle of journals 1 through 15, or sorry, 11 through 15. And just every bundles of 5, just make them electronic so that us non-Americans can actually have, access to these without paying through the nose, because, not cheap. Even for something that's small, it's not cheap to get your hands on this. So yeah, Journal of 12, let me know what you think. I'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye.